Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of Boredom Busters with Lincoln Children's Museum. Today is Monday, June 1st, and we are going to be talking about cut flowers today. Now, what do you call a group of cut flowers that have been arranged? That's a bouquet, and someone who likes to do that and does it for a living is called a florist. Now, today I have a couple of fun activities for you. And our printable, here's Kazoo with some flowers that he cut. And can you help Kazoo count the number of petals on each flower and the number of leaves on each plant? So how many leaves are there? 6, 4, or 3 leaves on the blue flower? How about petals? Are there 5, 6, or 10? Now, can you also count the number of little dots in the middle? All right, and for our song recommendation today, we have What Do Plants Need to Grow? So put this song on, learn a little bit about plants, and start dancing. All right, now our book recommendation today is a really nice story written and illustrated by Demi called The Empty Pot. Now, I love this story from my childhood, and it still is just a wonderful story, and we have that linked for you. Now, for our video recommendation today, we have SciShow Kids with Jessie and Squeaks, and they are going to take a look inside of a flower. So, to learn about what's on the inside of the flowers, watch this video. All right, now for our science experiment, you're going to need some cut flowers. Now, I just went outside and found some flowers, but before you cut flowers from your yard, make sure it's okay, and remember, don't go into other people's yards to cut flowers. Now, you might wonder about flowers. Now, how do they last longer in water? Can you get flowers to last longer? Well, we're going to do an experiment today. Now remember, a science experiment is when you have different variables, different things that you can change, and you have to have a constant too. So the thing we're keeping the same is the flowers. So we're going to use the same type of flower for each one of these cups. If we used a different type of flower, we wouldn't know if it was because the flower was different or because what we put in the water was different. So we need enough of the same kind of flower to do at least 4. You can do more than that also. Now, this lesson recommends trying this with bleach and with sugar, but you can definitely try it with other things too. So I'm going to get myself some sugar here. Just make sure that you write down what you're using, because another really big part of science is writing it down so that even if you aren't there, somebody else could do the same project and see what their results are. All right, so here I've got my 6 cups of, they're empty right now, and I'm going to put the same amount of water into each one. So since these are plastic cups, they all have little lines on them. So I'm just going up to the bottom line. If you're using regular cups or if you've got different sizes or shapes, that's okay. Just make sure you're putting in the same amount of water. All right, and one more. All right, so now I have the same amount of water in each cup, and I'm going to need to label these. So make sure that you label when you put your thing in them so that you don't forget in between. Now I'm going to start by putting, I'm going to have one be plain, so plain water. All right, and I really like using masking tape for my labels on these because then it peels right off and it's not so sticky that it will leave gumminess on the cups when you're done. All right, so that one's going to be plain water. Now I've got my sugar here. I'm going to get 1 teaspoon of sugar. And I'm going to write that down. 1 TSP, which is short for teaspoon, of sugar. And I'm going to go ahead and measure all of my different units of sugar here, just so that I can then use my measuring spoon to stir the sugar in. So this one I'm going to go 1, 2 teaspoons of sugar and make my label 2 TSP dot sugar. And to write on the masking tape, you are going to need a permanent marker so that it will stay. All right. Now I'm going to put in some bleach. So bleach is something, it's a chemical, it's pretty harsh, and you don't bleach with your bare fingers. Now I'm going to use a pipette. So if you have a pipette, you could probably do it yourself. But if you don't, then you're going to want to get some grown-ups help on it, because you don't want this splashing anywhere. If it gets on your clothes, it can actually make holes in your clothes. So this one is labeled in milliliters, but I know that 1 teaspoon is almost 5 milliliters. So there's 2.5 and 2.5 more. I'm going to go 1 teaspoon bleach and put that label onto the cup. And I'm going to do one with 2 teaspoons of bleach. So that's going to be 2.5 plus 2.5 is 5, plus 2.5 is 7.5, plus 2.5 is 10. Since, remember, 1 teaspoon is just short of 5 milliliters. So 2 teaspoons bleach. Now you can try this with any kind of add-in for the water. These are just the ones that this lesson plan recommended. And this actually can help you see why some is good, but maybe a lot is bad. All right, so here is 1 stem of flowers. Oh, I need to stir that sugar in. All right, it is much trickier to stir in 2 whole teaspoons of sugar rather than just the 1 teaspoon. Now, have you ever bought flowers from a florist or from the grocery store? And have you noticed that usually around the bottom of that bouquet, there's a little packet. And the packet, it says something like, extend the life of your bouquet and add this to the water. Well, what is in those little cups or the little packet? Maybe this is how some scientists figured it out. Just test it out. So here's another little snip of flowers. So my plain water has my flowers in it. There's my 2 teaspoons of sugar. Here is my 1 teaspoon of sugar. 1 teaspoon of bleach. All right. And my 2 teaspoons of bleach. Now, these flowers, the lesson plan said that we should also do one where it's cut on an angle in regular water. So I'm going to try that. These flowers have really skinny stems. So there it is. So all the rest of them are cut flat on the bottom. This one is cut at an angle. Can you see that there? So rather than straight across, I cut it diagonal. So I'm going to put that one in here, make my label for that one. So I think I'll write plain water and then diagonal cut. D-A-G-O-N-A-L, cut. All right. So there are my 6 cups. And now we just need to wait. And this is one where check on it every day, maybe even a couple times a day, but write down what time and what day you're looking at it. And when each one withers up and is done, mark down that day. And then at the end, you can compare the days that the flowers were all withered and done. Because of course, even when flowers are connected to plants still and still growing, flowers only last so long before they wither up. And when we cut them and put them into a bouquet, they usually last less time than if they're on the plant. So here, we're just going to measure and see. So I cut these flowers from the same plant at the same time, and then put them all into different solutions. And now we just need to wait and see. So keep track, gather some data, and well, before you do that though, think about it. Make a hypothesis. Which one do you think is going to last the longest? Which one do you think is going to wither first? Well, let us know when you complete this activity and when you find the answers to your experiments here. All right, now I have a quick art project for us today, and this one we're going to be making some flowers. So all you need here are some cardboard rolls, glue stick, scissors, many colors of paint, and then optionally you can have some bright paper. And now I'm going to use a couple different sizes of paintbrushes here. I'm going to use this one for putting the paint on the tube, and this one for doing some on my painting. So the first thing you need to do is take your tube and cut the same distance down all the way around. Now I'm doing these about 1 centimeter apart, but however far apart your cuts are is how many petals you're going to have. So if I did them really close together, I could have something more like a daisy. If I do them farther apart, then I'm going to end up with something with fewer petals. So see, each one of these is now going to be a petal. All right, now I'm going to use my bigger brush to paint each one of these a different fun color. Make sure you get plenty of paint onto the petals. And if you would like, I'm going to go opposites on this one. Now you can clean the paint off of your brush, get the water off on a rag or a paper towel. Let's see, so I'm going to do purple on this one. I think that's going to be my only purple one. Let's see. Now, if you want to do lots of different colors of flowers, then you're probably going to need more than one roll, more than one paper roll, because this one's blue now. It's not going to change. If I tried to put yellow on top of it, what would happen? If there's already blue on it and I try to put on yellow, it would turn green. All right, so this one's going to be bright pink. I think I'm going to make the other two bright pink also. Once you get them all painted in a color pattern that you like, then put it down on your paper, and you can press on each of these petals here to help make that stamp happen. And there's a flower, almost. There are the petals. Now we need a middle. Well, if you have a big circular hole punch, you can use that. I don't, so I'm just going to take this, let's see. All right, that's how big it is. You can trace it. I'm just gonna cut myself a circle here. And let's see. And you know, I actually, since the petals are not perfect, I think that this is going to look pretty neat if this circle isn't quite perfect too. All right, there's my circle, a little bit of glue stick. Now, if you would like, you may, of course, paint the middle of your flower instead of using paper. And if you have some fun paper, maybe something with patterns on it, some scrapbooking paper, that could be very fun as well. All right, now, for some details, I'm going to take my skinny brush and I'm going to put some little pollen dots in the middle there. All right, I'm going to rinse that off and paint in a stem and some leaves. Now, if you would like, there's a fun addition that you can do to this, and that is adding in grass, which you can use paint to paint it on, or you can use some green paper and you can cut out some grass blades. I'm just going to do a couple here. And these are even more fun if you have some fancy scissors. Then you can get some little crinkly edges on the grass. All right, so there's a little bit of grass. Okay, a little bit of glue stick on it. And there's some grass. So there you go. There is a fun stamping flower activity for you today. Now, Miss Mandy, I do have a joke for you.
Okay.
What did the big flower say to the little flower?
Oh, I don't know.
What's up, bud? Because before the flower petals open, it's called a bud. All right, well, thanks everybody. See you all tomorrow morning at 10:30.